Black people, there's a wisdom you carry that did not begin in America. Your brilliance didn't start in the 1600s. Your intellect didn't start with survival. Your resilience didn't start with oppression. Your wisdom is an ancient wisdom. It's older than colonization, older than slavery, older than the United States itself. And deep down, you can feel it, right? Let me explain it to you. Now, listen carefully. Black wisdom comes from civilization older than the Western world. Before America existed, before Europe dominated anything, Black people built empires, universities, kingdoms, cities, mathematics, medicines, architecture, spirituality. From ancient Egypt to Mali to Kush to Yoruba to Ethiopia to Timbuktu, Black civilization is some of the oldest on the planet. The wisdom you carry is inherited. Slavery hid your history, not your intelligence. The transatlantic slave trade tried to erase your knowledge, your memory, your achievements, your languages, your brilliance, but it could not erase your DNA wisdom. The instinct passed down from your generation. That's why people adapt, right? Black people adapt fast. They learn fast. They sense dangers fast. They create solutions out of nothing. It's inherited in your memory. Black people have a natural spiritual sensitivity. This is something the world can't explain. Black people can feel things. You can sense energy, right? I'm the energy queen, yeah. You can sense energy. You can read people quickly. You can discern intentions. That is who I am. Your worship, your prayer, your intuition, all of it carries ancient depth. It's ancestral wisdom. Now, Black mothers and elders carry sacred knowledge. Think about it. A Black grandmother can look at a child and tell their future. A Black mother can sense trouble before it happens. Black elders can guide with a few simple words that feel like prophecy. This wisdom didn't come from America. It came from generations before America. Now, let's talk about trauma. Made the wisdom sharper, right? Trauma made the wisdom sharper. Oppression didn't create your wisdom. It sharpened it. Or it sharpened it, because your ancestors had to survive impossible conditions, outthink systems, protect their families, hold faith, and everything failed. They held faith when everything failed. They created wisdom wrapped in intuition, survival, spiritual awareness, and emotional intelligence. Black people knows how to turn nothing into something. Of course, you know the Black inventions, right? This is a global pattern. Whether in the Caribbean, South America, Africa, or the US, Black people create, innovate, invent, rebuild, transform, right? Even with limited resources, you produce excellence. This is ancient innovation resurfacing through modern struggle. America benefits from Black people's ancient wisdom. Of course, I'm going to show you after now. You're going to see it in the videos. Music, sports, style, technology, language, activism. Black wisdom leads. America follows. Your instinct shape global culture. Your creativity drives the world. Your resilience inspires nations. Your wisdom is older than the system trying to control you. Anyways, watch these videos and I will be back. Please watch these videos to the end. Thank you.
Black man invented the stoplight. White man invented a ticket.
Keep going.
Black man invented the light bulb. White man invented electric bill.
Black man invented the telephone. White man invented the telephone bill.
Kyrie Irving posted on his page a Black
native on his page. Then on his story, he posted, "We are the grandchildren of the Indians you weren't able to remove." Y'all know how I feel about that Indian part, but let's get to the basis of it. The OGs know I've covered this topic and said that it does not make sense to go all the way to another continent to bring them over here to work as slaves when there are already people here. And I want y'all to know that Europe sent criminals to the New World to die. That's why they stand so proudly for the American flag, because it took them 313 years to erase, enslave, kill, and reclassify and colonize this country. Throughout history, when colonizers would come to other countries and continents or lands, when you are fighting for your land and your freedom and you don't win that battle, you become a slave, a prisoner of war. The sacredness of this beautiful land, they wanted to fight for it because their ancestors are here. They're buried under the mounds of it. So what happened when you're a prisoner of war on your own land and you're working on your own land? They knew what they were going to do on paper, the reclassifications, but the land, our DNA, and the stories will be told and passed down. So what do you do when that happens? As a master, a slave master who's trying to take over an entire land, you separate the families and you send them into all different directions. So nobody can figure out their roots. You change their last name. And when you create the system, you don't give them a nationality. You call them a colored or black. American Indians were reclassified as Negro and colored during the colonial years. During that time of them writing up all the lies, individuals falsely claimed Native American ancestry to gain government benefits. But that's just the thoughts that's been running in my head. Don't argue with me though, argue with Kyrie Irving.
There's always been a big question, were black people robbed of their culture, or did they preserve their authentic African culture? And what Soul is saying is that they were robbed of their culture, and so they picked up the culture of the people around them, and the people around them were rednecks. And if you look at the white redneck culture and the black redneck culture, they have a lot of the same values. They don't particularly respect education, they love Jesus, they use violence in their conflicts, and even Ebonics, which is, black English, is actually all from the west of England.
What?
It's from the west of England. So, for example, if you go to places like Cornwall, they would always say, Devon knows how they make it so creamy, and they all talk like this, right? And so it doesn't sound like black English, but they do say things like, I be doing that, and we be doing this, and they be doing that. And so there's the use of that copula be, where instead of saying I am, you are, he is, she is, they are, they just say I be, you be, we be, they be, which is the classic feature of black English, African American vernacular English.
Now, people gonna get mad at this white guy for saying this. And you know why? Because people don't know who Thomas Sowell is. Thomas Sowell is a black man who wrote a book called Black Rednecks and White Liberals. And in his book, he explained this whole theology of how black people were robbed of their culture. It's just a simple fact. I mean, they came from Africa. They were taken apart from their families. They didn't have a common language. They lost all of their culture over generations. And what did they adopt? That's why I always argue it's not black culture. It's degenerate culture that black people have adopted. The same with white, the same with whoever adopt this culture is going to find themselves in a very similar situation in America and across the world. It's that simple.
Black people are the first people. Black people are the mothers and fathers of everybody on this planet. The first people to know about God. The first people to be mathematicians, architects, scientists, philosophers, to know about astronomy. But when the people who classify themselves as white started taking over, they knew of the critical importance in the area of religion of telling people, the whole world of colored people, that God was white.
Have you seen how we're supposed to be calling ourselves Sulani now? Sulani.
Who?
Black Americans.
Who? What?
Google it. Google Sulani right now. It's like soul and then A-A-N-I. Like Sulani.
So you said soul and what? What?
So like spell soul and then end it with A-A-N-I.
Solani.
There's a flag and everything.
See, I was gonna go more of the
Sulani of the soul.
a term coined for African Americans that allow us to acknowledge our African roots while also affirming our identities we have created here in America.
So there's an underground railroad for black people in 2025. And the thing is, it's not underground this time. It's actually on TikTok. Welcome to the cookout. You see, our people are now claiming our indigenous status. Look at our brother here. Tax exemption ID. Government ID of the Shi'amaru Republic. This is really happening. We got another beloved sister here who received her tribal screening back. Positive, indigenous to the Americas. And even myself, I was able to get my screening done. Positive to the Americas. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know how I did this, all I need you to do is share this video, repost it, like, and comment. That's all I need from you, okay? And I'll show you guys how to correct your status back to Indigenous American. I love you. Swear to God on my mama. Let's do it. Alright, so when correcting your status, we're not talking about the usual runaround you get where you're paying people and they're sending you templates and you gotta mail all of it. No. Alright? What we're doing is we're taking a tribal screening through the Aboriginal Ministry of Justice. These are the requirements you will need to pass that tribal screening. You must currently domicile within the United States, born within America, North, Central, or South, parents or grandparents born within America, directly or indirectly experience genocide, which for us, slavery, Jim Crow, civil rights, directly or indirectly experience denationalization. Now this right here is when they strip you of your nation. They call you black, Negro, Cherokee, mulatto, all type of different names, okay? So the cost of this is $75 for adults, $50 for kids, okay? So obviously I got the adult one, 5 to 10 business days. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, you can book a consultation with me in the link in my bio, or if you click the link in my bio, it'll take you directly to this tribal screening page. And I believe we still have about 10 slots open, where if you use the code YASUN, all caps, you get 50% off. So, hey, that's pretty cool as well, okay? Hopefully this information is awesome to you. Tag somebody, send it to somebody. Let our people know that we are rising, we are building, all right? Welcome to the cookout.
And what I also know is that this food is fucking killing us, okay? People don't, or they claim that they don't recognize me or I don't look the same or whatever, but that's because my skin is a lot darker now. I spend a lot more time in the sun now, because naturally as black people, we're supposed to be in the sun. We're the only ones who can be outside in the sun. I don't know if you can see behind me, but these people have to sit in the shade. They have to put sunscreen on to even be able to tolerate. They have to create, that's what sunscreen is. It's a barrier. Oh my God. Sunscreen is a barrier of chemicals that they have to put on their skin to disconnect, or, for lack of a better word, how do I explain it? It's like sunscreen just creates a barrier between their skin and the sun. So it's like a layer of chemicals that they need that they don't naturally have. Oh my God. These people gotta put on these chemical concoctions of sunscreen to even begin to get the layer of melanin that black people naturally have.
Oh, that's so much.
Yikes. So it's like the same, but it's like the very people who can't be in the sun make you afraid. The very people that can't be in the sun has made us afraid for generations. The very people that can't be in the sun naturally, meaning that they can't even receive vitamin D. And when we as black people eat all of this toxic food, we have a hard time being out in the sun. We begin hiding from the sun. We're not supposed to have to hide from the sun. Like, I can be out in the sun all day. And then it's like, the more I'm in the sun, the less tired I am, because the sun gives us vitamin D energy. Hold on.
America cannot tell the truth about herself. If the history of this country were written, you would have to say that this country is a nation of thieves. It began by stealing this country from the red man. If I said to you that Christopher Columbus discovered America in 1492, you would say that's correct. But now here come this honky from Spain. There are already non-white people here, and they're not existing until he comes and discovers them. Ain't that something? All their heroes have been white. They make you bow down to George Washington as your hero. Did they ever tell you that that honky owned slaves? Did he ever tell you that? Yeah. Not only did he own slaves, he sold a black woman for a barrel of molasses, and he's supposed to be our hero. Our hero. Yeah. We have to begin to unbrainwash ourselves. The biggest lie that this country has told about us is that we are lazy. And here goes some of us running around. Yeah, you know how black people are lazy. We are lazy. White people are so lazy, they stole us to do her work for her, but she was too lazy to do it. You run up and down this highway, run up and down the Delta, visit Southwest Mississippi. They talking about us being lazy. We are the ones who are out in the hot sun, picking and chopping cotton for $2 a day while they sitting on the porch.
Everyone was a slave. Everyone.
Well, not everyone was a slave.
No, everyone was a slave.
Okay.
We are all descended from slaves. It's just a question of when. Was it more recent or less recent? That's it.
That doesn't mean a lot to a whole lot of people who aren't able to take advantage of the opportunities that you were able to take advantage of, simply because the color of your skin.
What advantages did the color of my skin give me?
Slavery existed in the African states, but it was sometimes used by Europeans to justify their own slave trade. But as Davidson points out, the slaves, quote unquote, of Africa were more like serfs of Europe. In other words, like most of the population of Europe, it was harsh servitude, but they had rights, which slaves brought to America did not have. And they were altogether different from human cattle of slave ships and American plantations. In the Ashanti Kingdom of West Africa, and that's the same matriarchal society, I talked about this before, Ya Satiwa, y'all can look her up. In the Ashanti Kingdom of West Africa, one observer noted that a slave might marry, own property himself, own a slave, swear an oath, be a competent witness, and ultimately become heir to his master. An Ashanti slave, 9 cases out of 10, possibly became an adopted member of the family, and in his time, descendants so merged and intermarried with owner's kinsmen that only a few would know their origin. One slave trader, John Newton, who later became anti-slave leader, wrote about the people of what is now Sierra Leone, the state of slavery among these wild, barbarous people, as we esteem them, is much milder than our colonies. For as on the one hand, they have no land and high cultivation like our West India plantations, and therefore no call for that excessive intermittent labor which exhausts our slaves. So on the other hand, no man is permitted to draw blood even from a slave. Just a little bit of differences, But I think Elon should know that, because white people benefited from apartheid in South Africa, where they had better education, healthcare, opportunities to buy homes, properties. You know, just a little bit of differences, the same differences that we didn't have, the same rights that we didn't have in America as black Americans, where our grandparents of this generation were born on plantations. Our great grandparents were most likely slaves, because not only were slaves not just not freed, all the way up to the late 1800s and early 1900s, they were still oppressed. And we can get into all of the details from the civil rights movement on out, but I don't think we even have to do this. I think that we should just use our brain, use our knowledge, read a couple books, and like I said before, on this app, I put this junk on my showcase a couple times. Just buy the book. I don't know what else to tell y'all. It is what it is.
I think why a lot of people in the diaspora are upset that Black Americans claim their American nationality is because we don't have an immigrant story. Our parents are from here. Our grandparents are from here. Our great-grandparents and so on and so forth are from here. But what I truly think they're upset about is because they perceive that we don't give any accolades or respect to Africa. We don't claim our African roots. Look at stepping. Look at the Gullah Geechee culture. Look at Louisiana culture as a whole. Look at a ring shout. If you've never seen one, they're very moving. We held on to our roots. This is the key. Our roots as much as we could. But culturally, we are not African. We created our own culture separate from African culture because we had to out of necessity. Google is free. Look the shit up for yourself. But I think they're so mad because our culture is rich without being directly tied to Africa. Yeah, I think that's why they're mad.
I actually did not know anything about black women inventors, but I do now. Marie Van Britten Brown invented the home security system because in 1966 she was like, I live in America. Alice Ball cured leprosy. Then a white man took the credit, of course. Dr. Patricia Bath invented a laser tool to remove cataracts. She was also the first black female physician to receive a medical patent. Mary Beatrice Davidson Kenner invented the sanitary belt, which later became the pad, and companies literally rejected her because she was black. Marjorie Joyner made the permanent wave machine. It helped black women, it helped white women, and then it helped the world. Did she get rich? Absolutely not. Sarah Boone created the modern ironing board. She was born enslaved, and before Sarah, people only used planks. Valerie Thomas invented a 3D illusion transmitter. It's used for medical imaging and television. She worked at NASA, and they still use her technology today. Dr. Shirley Jackson worked on caller ID, call waiting, and touch tone phones, so you could ignore people more efficiently. She was also the first black woman to earn a doctorate from MIT. Sarah Good invented the fold-out bed. It used to transform into a desk. She was the first African-American woman to receive a U.S. patent. Marian Croak developed voice-over internet protocol. She literally made the internet talk. She holds 200 patents, and I hold grudges. Thank you.
All right, racists, let's talk about the part of history you like to tout the most. Black inventions. And along with those inventions comes the receipts. Racist America has pretended for far too long that black people haven't created or invented most things, if not every single thing we use daily. They like to pretend that the toolbox of life just appeared out of nowhere, or that it was gifted by some default white guy. Then they act shocked every single time a black Indigenous American shows up in the patent record. This pattern in history of gaslighting and erasure ends now. So why don't we break the spell with a hit list of under-referenced black American inventors, whose work you touch, hear, and rely on every single day, whether you say their names or not. This is what I call the not-so-familiar list. James E. West co-invented the electret microphone in 1962. That tiny capsule in smartphones, laptops, hearing aids, and almost every modern mic, brought to you by a black man, James West. George Edward Alcorn Jr. built the imaging X-ray spectrometer in 1984 that sharpened space and materials research. NASA named him Inventor of the Year. Translation, he built the instruments that actually see what the naked eye can't. Black brilliance. Meredith Gourdine pioneered electro-gas dynamics, devices like incinerate cut smoke and industrial pollution. He engineered the actual physics. David N. Crosswaite Jr., architect of modern HVAC controls for big buildings. He has 39 U.S. patents, some of which include heating systems for Radio City Music Hall as well as Rockefeller Center. So when you visit these places, your climate comfort is running on David's math. Walter Lincoln Hawkins created durable polymer cable sheathing so telephone lines could survive the sun and harsh weather. Otis Boykin designed precision resistors that stabilized consumer electronics and pacemaker controls. George Carruthers invented the far ultraviolet camera / spectrograph used on Apollo 16 to image Earth's atmosphere and interstellar space. When science looked farther, it used George's instrument. Jerry Lawson led the team behind the interchangeable video game cartridge, the truest pioneer to console gaming. Jesse Russell was the key architect of digital cellular systems and base station tech. He laid the groundwork for the networks that your phone lives on. Marian Croak is the holder of 200 plus patents in voice over IP and internet call tech. So as far as internet calling as a service, she operationalized the pipeline. Valerie Thomas, the pioneer behind the Illusion Transmitter 3D image tech at NASA. Bessie Blount Griffin inventor of the self-feeding device used for amputees and a disposable emesis basin. It's a clinical design that restored autonomy to its users in this country. Then it spread internationally. Alice H. Parker created the 1919 patent for a gas-fired centrally zoned heating furnace. She also planted the seed ideas for modern home heating segmentation. Miriam E. Benjamin, in 1888, created the gong and signal chair, a call button system predating hotel service alerts. The start of push to summon was formulated by her genius. Andrew J. Beard invented the Jenny coupler in 1897, which is an automated dangerous link and pin rail coupling. His work improved freight efficiency and worker safety. Philip B. Downing created the street letterbox in 1891 with a weather shielding door for mail drop-off. Yes, a black man created the mailbox. John Stannard. In 1891, he invented the non-electric refrigerator and compact oil stove, the pioneer of non-electric appliances. Richard B. Spikes. He iterated the automatic gear shift and most automotive safety systems. Lloyd Hall. He advanced food preservation, using safer curing salts, using spice sterilization, and antioxidants. He created the industry-level shelf life. So what was the point to all of this? Reality reads like this list. Black Americans were already here, already building, and already creating everything. Designing the microphones inside your phone, the networks under your texts, the heat in your building, the optics in your space science, the cartridges that built an entire gaming industry, the clinical tools that dignify autonomous care, and the dull metal boxes swallowing your mail on the corner. Erasing the creativity and the genius of the original people isn't accidental. It's an act of violence. You can keep pretending you invented everything, sure. Or you can look around, call things what they are, and stop living on lies. Pretending to be superior in technology and a spiritual power you can't even use. The entire world can see the limitations of racists. The big question is, however, why can't you?
Why is that white wealth able to exist in the first place in such a disproportionate fashion?
So I have a degree in African American studies, and I don't think people understand the vast amount of money produced by American slavery. By 1860, the 4 million enslaved people in the United States were worth about $4 billion. And that's not adjusted for today's money. That's $4 billion in 1860. And that's just the value of the people. That's not the value of what they produce: tobacco, cotton, sugarcane. The U.S. South was producing 60% of the world's cotton by the late 1800s. The amount of millionaire families, the start of billion-dollar industries with a B, Bezos money. There are whole families, whole towns that are still rich, hundreds of years later, still. Y'all have no idea.
Has an update on how the neighborhood is coming along and is giving us an inside look.
The developer says people have already moved into 20 of the 29 homes in South Park Cottages, and the ball is already rolling on the next location, Union City.
Crews are putting the finishing touches on the final 9 tiny homes. 16 months after construction began, all 29 have been sold.
The money they spend is directly impacting this community. College Park will now get, and Fulton County will now get, tax revenue from this community that didn't exist before.
Plus, developer Booker Washington says micro-communities are also keeping more money in the residents' pockets.
I'm saving about maybe $2,000. I'll be passing this down to my son.
Equity. With rent continuously on the rise across metro Atlanta, Janice Williams chose to buy for the same size space.
I was considering getting an apartment because I'm downsizing from a 5-bedroom house on the south side, and it was just too much. My son moved out. He has a new baby, a new family he's building, and my mother is elderly. She couldn't go up and down the 16 flights of steps to her bedroom. It just makes more sense.
Williams has been in the neighborhood for 3 weeks. Washington says there are several other residents like her, singles, single parents, couples, and retirees.
The residents of South Park are diverse. They range from 40,000 upwards to millionaires that live here.
The average rent in metro Atlanta is about $2,000 a month. Washington says the average mortgage here is $1,500, and he has his eyes set on the next project, Union Park.
Expanding in all urban metro area markets is important because every metro area market is affected by high real estate prices and squeezing out those in the lower incomes. So we are eyeing and targeting the center of Atlanta. We have a long waiting list and interest list of well over 3,000 of people that desire a micro home project.
In College Park, Teresa Bowles, 11 Alive News.
All of American music is black based. Guitar, we played that.
Okay, amplified guitar, we were the first. Guitar was made in 1883 by Robert Fleming, black dude. They don't show it in the what the fucking museums, but we started all that shit. Just to let you know. No, I'm just saying because you know I love to do shit that makes people mad.
Of Donald Trump talking about how great American innovation is, and everything that he named that America invented, it was a black person that invented it.
This is a nation that invented the light bulb, the telegraph, the television, the telephone, the computer chip, the smartphone, the GPS, the integrated circuit, and even the internet. Basically, we invented everything. What is left? We invented everything.
Bro, black people did all that.
Are you serious right now? Are you serious? Every single one of them black people was American. Every single one of them. So what? Now because Donald Trump said that it was America who did it, that means those black people aren't American now? So black people aren't American now? Fucking dumb. See, this is the type of shit that I'll be talking about. You know what I'm saying? Now, just because a person didn't had one good idea doesn't mean that they're intellectually sound. Doesn't mean that they're intelligent. Because this was some of the dumbest shit I'd have never heard. On top of that, you keep trying to separate and divide and do this little race bullshit. You hear the man clearly said we. You don't think they know that all of the black people that made and built all of this shit? Yeah. He done said it in different speeches that black people built this country. So of course, I just can't believe that you sat here and try to post this and promote this and be like, what are you talking about, black people, blah, blah, blah. Like black people aren't American. I swear, you motherfuckers be showing your true colors all the time, bro. Just stupid, ignorant, all of that. And fucking out here influencing people to think dumb just like you. They're American, bro. That was fucking ridiculous. That was so, oh my gosh. Go run a lap. God damn it. And 10 push-ups, because that was dumb as fuck. Drop your thoughts and feelings in the comments.
Black people also invented GPS, technically navigation, ambulances, Wi-Fi, the baby buggy, home security systems, ranch dressing, super soakers, 3D movies, over 300 uses for the peanut. Let that sink in. 300 inventions on a peanut. Flour, paste, insulation, wallboard, wood stains, soap, shaving cream, lotion, blood transfusions, elevator doors, maxi pads, the modern air conditioner, Nerf guns, spatulas, your literal cell phone that you're watching this on, ironing boards, laser eye surgery, the folding chair, shout out to Alabama, country and rock music, I know that one stings, the modern toilet, the golf tee, keychains, cash register, shoe soles, VR gaming systems, adjustable wrenches, the rotary engine.
Name one thing a black person invented?
Why can't I think of anything? One thing a black person invented.
Oh, my turn next. Refrigerator, home security, caller ID, air conditioning, electric lamp, hydraulic shock absorbers, ironing board, printing press, locks, aeroplane propeller, fibre optic cable, starter generators, lawnmower, 3D imaging, cataracts, laser eye removal, helicopter, pacemaker, touch tone dialing, clothes dryer, fountain pens, typewriter, elevator, roller coaster, eye protectors, paints and stains, medicine, natural gas heating furnace, remote controls, rotary machine, letterbox, fire escape ladder, stair lift. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I'm presuming you get my point. We have black inventors. It's just they don't teach us about them. So therefore, we feel like we don't. And this isn't even taking into account all of those inventions that were stolen along the way. This is just me making a point. This isn't even a drop in the ocean of black inventions that we use every single day. And why don't we know about them? Because our history isn't taught. It's eradicated. Clips like this alone highlight the point why we need more than just a month, why black history needs to be woven into the fabric of education in general and not just used as some tick boxing exercise. But if that's all we're getting is the tick boxing exercise, then let's use it wisely. 30 days of Black History Month incoming.
So since then, I've been doing a lot of digging and a lot of work. And what I was able to find out is that Nelson's father, So Nelson's father was actually owned by a slave master named Thomas P. Rosser from Halifax, Virginia. So now I actually have 7 generations. And
This is how most black Americans receive their last name, but they don't teach this in school.
And his mother's name is Sylvester or Sylvestra, depending on what you're looking at. And her maiden name is Gilbert. And they had 15 children. So Nelson had 14 brothers and sisters. So now we know Nelson's father's name. We know the slave master's name who owned Andrew Rosser. His name was Thomas P. Rosser, and he was one of 4 Rossermen from Halifax, Virginia, who owned a ton of slaves all over Virginia.
I have some news for you guys that I found out. A black American man, who actually invented the first gravity car in the United States of America. Yeah, he was mysteriously unalived, and they tried to cover that bad boy up so they could steal his invention. Watch this. And yes, you better believe I wrote this down at blackentrepreneur.history.com. The article is called "A Black American Man Invented the First Gravity Car in 1874, but questionably died right before it displayed." Now, before you go looking, I already checked, okay? All right, so you're going to find online where they will say, "We don't know who created the first gravity car," or they will say, "Many people were probably making gravity cars in the 1800s, but there's never any definite answer," right? And there's so great a recording, but not with this thing. They didn't greatly record. Also, right after this unnamed Black American man created the first gravity car in 1874, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, in 1904, there's the first gravity car racing going on, just out of the blue. I wonder why. Let's get into it. So I took this from the Washington Chronicle of 1874, and as you can see right here, it says "A Negro Inventor's End," and then they went on with a racial slur, and then said he constructs a wonderful machine and becomes the victim of his own ingenuity. Now, before I go on, if everyone was making these things, why would they report it in 1874 as a Negro's invention? And then they don't even know what to call the machine properly. They called the machine a perpetual motion machine, but it wasn't a perpetual motion machine because that goes against the laws of thermodynamics. It would never have worked. This was a gravity car. As you can see right here, they call it a perpetual motion machine constructed by an old Negro who lives 3 miles west of this place. It's a wagon so arranged that after being set in motion, it runs itself by virtue of the fact that there's a weight of gravitation that is thrown forward of the center of motion, and consequently the machine is compelled to run. And of course, over here to the side, I break this down. The inventor of this car created a gravity car because the car was run by the weight of gravitation, which is thrown forward of the center of motion, pushing the machine to run. A perpetual motion car does not do the same thing as a gravity car because perpetual motion car violates the what? The laws of thermodynamics, thus would not work. What this Black American man made was a gravity car. And it was the first known gravity car ever to be made in the USA. The only official documentation of it, where? Right here. Now, before this Black American man actually invented this gravity car, the only other gravity motion machine was in the railway system. And guess what? You all know who built those railways, right? Right? Black Americans all across the United States of America prior to the Emancipation Proclamation. Now let's move on to this old Black American inventor's questionable death. Here's where they describe his accidental death. Okay. Now they say that he was on his way to register his invention for the fair, right? And everybody was watching him as he took off in his gravity car, right? He was only going about 15 miles an hour. And then suddenly they say he hit a small tree stump after starting off on a smooth, sandy road. All of a sudden, a tree stump comes out of nowhere on the smooth, sandy road, and his wheel bumps it, hurling him toward the other side of the road, headfirst into a fence, after he already busted his head somehow on the driving wheel. So basically, he's driving along great at 15 miles an hour, gets ejected from the gravity car, okay? Then ends up on the other side of the road, on the other side, the opposite side of the road. And get this, the gravity car did not flip over, nothing. It continued, they say, freely cruising down the road until it actually came to a gentle stop in front of a log, fully intact. Yeah, of course I wrote all this down because the story didn't make any sense to me, being that I actually drive cars and we all drive full cars now. We actually do know what's going on at 15 miles an hour, okay? So yeah, I wrote all of that evidence down. Furthermore, I checked to see whether or not it's likely that at 15 miles an hour in any gravity car, will you somehow have a terrible accident and unalive. Guess what it says? It's highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. You may be injured, but not unalived because of it, okay? As a matter of fact, it even went on to say that in a gravity car, you won't even be thrown from it at 15 miles an hour. So, looking back at 1874, how on earth would this man have been thrown all the way across the road, all the way across the road, and immediately died from being hit on the head? That was a violent throw at 15 miles an hour from a gravity car. But there's more. The coroner gets involved. Here's what the coroner said. When the coroner inspected, he couldn't tell what killed him, the fence collision or the driving wheel. So he could not tell. But it gets worse. There was an informant at the scene who gave all this information to the public about how this Black American inventor passed away, right? But he said, but we're going to still enter his invention into the fair so that all the other inventors can see it. But our informant assures us that it will still be on exhibition at the state fairgrounds, and we invite the attention of inventors and machinists to its peculiar mechanism. Y'all see that? This Black inventor did not pass away riding in his own invention. They took his life and stole his invention. And like I said, and I wrote this in my article, online historical accounts will generally state that many nameless individuals were probably making them in the 1800s for fun. But if that is the case, then why did newspapers all across America write about this Black American inventor story so heavily as him being the creator of a new wonderful machine, if so many people were doing it? It's a lie, that's why. A Black American man created the first gravity car in the United States of America in 1874. And a bunch of other people took his invention and ran with it. So now when you see those little soapbox derbies and soapbox gravity car racing derbies or whatever they call them, just know there was an unnamed Black American man who was old who invented that car. And they took his life. And I'm standing on that one until I get any other evidence that says otherwise. Visit blackentrepreneurs.history.com for the whole entire story. And more.
You know what's wild? Every time workers start organizing, the rich act like civilization's about to collapse. Like, God forbid somebody asks for a pay raise or a day off without being guilt-tripped about loyalty. I was actually talking to somebody in my YouTube comments about this very subject. From what I remember, he said he works at a Volkswagen factory that's trying to unionize right now. And he reminded me that this fight is still happening. The same fight our grandparents had. The same fight people literally died for. Before unions, there was no weekend, there was no minimum wage, no safety laws. You could work 14 hours, lose a hand in a machine, and your boss would still replace you by lunch. There are people out here talking about the good old days. But what they seem to forget is that if you were a worker, those days were hell. It was unions that said you don't own people just because you employ them. That gave us child labor laws, the 8-hour day, and health benefits. That's not radical, that is basic humanity. Even though I think the health benefits shouldn't be tied to work. That's a story for another day. And every time the workers stood up, the government called it dangerous. The same way they called civil rights marches riots. Because anytime poor people organize, power gets nervous. Then came the 1980s. Reagan fired over 11,000 air traffic controllers just for striking. That moment didn't just break one union. It told every worker in America, shut up or get replaced. And that's exactly what happened. Union membership got gutted and wages flatlined. CEO pay, though, went up 1,400%. And suddenly the same companies that built billion-dollar profits were handing out pizza parties and calling it appreciation. Like, be for real. A pizza party is never going to pay rent. But now people are done pretending. Starbucks workers are organizing store by store, even though we are not patronizing them. Amazon workers, same deal. They're organizing secret meetings on their breaks, but no Bezos either. But auto workers are walking out like, we made you billions, now you can pay us fairly. And I am so on board with that. And when I saw the comment from the guy at Volkswagen, I just couldn't help but think this is exactly where it starts. Not with the politician, not with the billionaire pretending to care about the middle class. It starts with one person saying, you know what, no, we deserve better. And then someone else says it, and then someone else. That's how every movement starts, quietly, until it's too loud to ignore. They want you to think that unions are corrupt or outdated, right? That they'll take your money and do nothing. That's projection because the real corruption is upstairs, not downstairs. The boardroom's been robbing the break room for decades. And they're terrified of workers remembering that this country only runs because we do. So yeah, if you like weekends, thank a union. If you like lunch breaks, thank a union. If you like not sending your 10-year-old to work in a coal mine, thank a union. Because this isn't new. It's just history looping until we finally learn the lesson. The people who built the world deserve way more than crumbs. And once we start remembering that again, the whole system starts shaking.
If you think America was built by anyone but us, prove it. Show me the skyscraper, the hospital, the farm, the highway that could exist without foundational Black Americans. You can't. Because the truth is this: take away our inventions and the modern world collapses overnight. You stop at a red light? That's Garrett Morgan. Before him, streets were chaos and deaths were constant. His 3-position traffic signal is used in every single country on Earth. And when soldiers in World War I or firefighters needed to breathe through smoke and gas, that was Garrett Morgan's gas mask too. The modern city you live in runs on his genius. Flip the switch in your home and light comes on? That's Lewis Latimer. Edison's bulb didn't work without Latimer's carbon filament. He was the one who drew the blueprint patents, the one who brought light to every household. Without him, Edison would have stayed in the dark, and so would you. Need surgery? Need a pacemaker? Thank Otis Boykin. His improved pacemaker circuit kept millions alive. The phones and computers you use today? His resistor technology is inside them. Need blood in an emergency? That's Dr. Charles Drew. He figured out how to preserve plasma. He created blood banks. He saved millions in World War II, and his invention is still saving lives in every hospital on the planet. Lost your sight? Cataracts removed with a laser? That's Dr. Patricia Bath, the first Black woman doctor to patent a medical device. She restored vision for millions. George Washington Carver? Don't reduce him to peanuts. He revolutionized agriculture. Crop rotation saved America's soil. His hundreds of inventions in plastics, fuels, paints, food science, that's global sustainability before it was a buzzword. Without Carver, this country would have starved in the Dust Bowl. But let's bring it to right now, because you can't escape us. Got a smartphone? That's Mark Dean, co-creator of the personal computer at IBM, whose innovations are in 90% of PCs worldwide. Your cell phone, your internet, your work from home setup, his fingerprints are all over it. Got GPS? That's Dr. Gladys West, a Black woman from Virginia. Her math-made satellites track your every move, every Uber, every flight, every map. FBA brilliance. Playing PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo? Thank Jerry Lawson, who invented the video game cartridge. Without him, there's no console gaming. Now let's step back. They want to erase this because if the world knew, the lie would collapse. They teach you about Edison, but not Latimer. They show you Ford, but not Granville Woods, the man who electrified the railroads. They give Einstein the spotlight, but hide Drew, Bath, Boykin, West, Lawson, Dean. Because once you see the truth that the modern world is powered by FBA innovation, you'll understand that we aren't the shadows of history. We are the light. Ask yourself this: if so-called dominant society built everything, why does every corner of your life, from the food in your fridge to the blood in your hands to the games your kids play, depend on us? Why do your cars, your cities, your hospitals, your satellites collapse without FBA genius? We built this while enslaved. We built this under Jim Crow. We built this while being told we weren't human. Imagine what we create when we're free. So the question isn't whether FBA innovation shaped the nation. The question is, how much more have they stolen, erased, hidden? And how much more unstoppable will we be when we reclaim the fact that foundational Black Americans didn't just survive America? We engineered it, we sustained it, we propelled it into the future. So I'll ask you one last time. If we built the foundations and our genius built the modern world, what do you think happens when we build for ourselves?
Welcome back. Let's just close it by saying, Black people, do not ever forget this. Your wisdom did not start in chains. It did not start in fields. It did not start in oppression. Your wisdom started in ancient kingdoms, in sacred lands, in spiritual traditions, in ancestors who carried brilliance long before America even existed, in powerful civilizations. Your walk with wisdom Okay, you walk with wisdom older than the country that once tried to erase you. You are not just knowledgeable, you are ancient, you are rooted, you are divinely prepared. And that's why you survive. That's why you rise. And that's why you lead. Because the wisdom in you is not 400 years old, it's thousands of years old. Let me hear you say thousands of years old. I'll stop here, right? Let me see your thoughts in the comments about this video. Do not forget to share, like, subscribe. My name is Blessing, or you call me BJ on Global District BJ. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.